Imagine, you're sitting at home. It's a regular morning. Outside, everything is perfectly normal. The streets are busy, children are heading to school, people are going about their lives without a single worry in the world. And then, a strange light appears in the sky, brighter than anything you've ever seen, so bright that your eyes go completely blind for a few seconds. You can't see anything. Then, a vibration. Not quite a sound, not quite a shockwave. First, an eerie silence, and then a force that feels like the entire earth just shifted beneath your feet. But you still don't know what that light has just brought with it. Today, we're going to talk about exactly what happens near a nuclear explosion, second by second, minute by minute, based on verified science, historical data, and real research. This isn't a horror story. This is reality.
Imagine. First, let's understand, how does a nuclear bomb actually work? Our entire universe is made of atoms. Everything around you, your hands, the air you breathe, the chair you're sitting on, it's all atoms. And at the center of every atom is a nucleus, which stores an almost incomprehensible amount of energy. Nuclear fission, the splitting of that nucleus, happens when a heavy atom like uranium-235 or plutonium is struck by a neutron. The nucleus splits, and the energy released in that process is millions of times greater than any conventional chemical explosion. And it works like a chain reaction. One atom splits, releases 2 neutrons, those split 2 more atoms, which release 4, and within microseconds, the entire explosion is complete. Hiroshima, the first real-world example. August 6, 1945, Hiroshima, Japan. At 8:15 in the morning, an American B-29 bomber called the Enola Gay dropped a single bomb, nicknamed Little Boy. It detonated approximately 600 meters above the ground, an airburst designed to maximize the radius of destruction. Yield: 15 kilotons of TNT, the equivalent of 15,000 tons of conventional explosive. Immediate deaths: 70,000 to 80,000 people killed instantly. Deaths by year-end: 90,000 to 140,000 by the end of 1945. City destruction: 70% of Hiroshima destroyed, approximately 5 square miles. All of that from just 15 kilotons. Now, let's look at the reality of 2025. Today, the United States submarine-launched missiles carry the W-76-1 warhead with a yield of 100 kilotons, 6 to 7 times more powerful than Hiroshima. On the same submarine is the W-88 warhead, 475 kilotons, 30 times more powerful than Hiroshima. America's largest active gravity bomb, the B-83, has a yield of 1,200 kilotons. That's 1.2 megatons, 80 times the power of Hiroshima. Russia and China possess weapons in similar and even higher ranges. For this video, we'll take a realistic scenario, a 300 kiloton warhead, which represents the average yield of a standard modern military weapon, detonating near your city. Are you ready? Let's begin.
This is the fraction of a second in which the entire world changes. The moment of detonation. Within milliseconds, a fireball is created. The temperature inside it climbs to over 10 million degrees Celsius. That is hotter than the surface of the sun. The fireball expands outward, growing rapidly in every direction. Within just 10 seconds, this fireball reaches its maximum size. Approximately 35% of the bomb's total energy is released as thermal radiation. Intense heat and light traveling outward at the speed of light. Flash blindness, your eyes going dark. Even 10 kilometers from the detonation point, someone sitting safely indoors, nowhere near the blast, can experience flash blindness. The light is so intense that it temporarily overwhelms the retina. Vision goes white or dark for anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes, before slowly returning. But if you were looking directly at the fireball, if that light passed through the lens of your eye, the result is a permanent retinal burn. This happened to survivors in Hiroshima. Some lost their vision entirely before the shockwave even reached them. Thermal burns, the heat that kills from miles away. The heat doesn't just damage eyes. People near ground zero, those still alive in those first fractions of a second, are exposed to a burst of thermal radiation equivalent to standing 2 seconds beneath an enormous sun. First, second, and third degree burns can occur on exposed skin up to 5 miles from the hypocenter. Closer to ground zero, there is no survival. Human bodies are vaporized, concrete and steel begin to melt, sand fuses into a glassy substance known as trinitite, a material that should not exist in this world, created by temperatures only a nuclear explosion can produce. T+1 second. The fireball has reached its maximum size, but the real destruction has only just begun.
The fireball has superheated and compressed the air surrounding it. That compressed, superheated gas now launches outward as a blast wave, traveling faster than the speed of sound, carrying a wall of overpressure that destroys everything in its path. Think of it this way: a wall of compressed air moving faster than a bullet, slamming into every surface of your city simultaneously. Buildings collapsing. An overpressure of just 5 psi, pounds per square inch above normal atmospheric pressure, is enough to severely damage or destroy most residential buildings. For a 300 kiloton weapon, this 5 psi zone extends for miles in every direction. Concrete structures survive slightly longer, but wood frame homes, the majority of residential buildings in most cities, are obliterated instantly. Windows shatter and become high-velocity glass shards, moving through the air like bullets. Research consistently shows that in the immediate aftermath of a nuclear blast, flying glass causes more injuries and deaths than almost any other secondary effect. People standing near windows, even miles away, face serious lacerations. Cars, utility poles, everything becomes a projectile. Cars are lifted and thrown. Utility poles and trees are uprooted and launched horizontally. Everything that wasn't bolted to bedrock has now become a missile. Inside the 30 psi overpressure zone, this is happening in every direction simultaneously, a supernatural storm compressed into a single second. The reverse wind, danger from both directions. And it doesn't stop there. After the blast wave passes, a powerful reverse wind follows, rushing back inward as atmospheric pressure tries to equalize. In Hiroshima, this reverse wind was measured at hurricane force speeds. Anything that survived the outward blast now faces a second assault from the opposite direction. A large portion of the city has been physically destroyed. Buildings collapsed, fires starting everywhere, roads impassable. But this was only the opening act. Nothing has been put out. In that first millisecond, the bomb released enough thermal energy to simultaneously ignite thousands of fires across the city. Furniture, curtains, dry leaves, wooden structures, paper, fabric, everything combustible caught fire at the same moment. And now those individual fires are beginning to merge toward each other. What is a firestorm? When a large number of fires are burning simultaneously across a wide area and begin to merge, they create what is known as a firestorm. In Hiroshima, this is precisely what happened. Within just 20 minutes of the bombing, a massive firestorm had developed and consumed the city. The physics of a firestorm is simple, but devastating. Step 1. Multiple fires merge and create a super hot central zone. Step 2. The intense heat causes air above the fire to become superheated and rapidly rise. Step 3. As hot air rises, fresh air from the surrounding periphery rushes inward to replace it. Step 4. This incoming air carries more oxygen, feeding the fire and making it burn hotter. Step 5. The cycle becomes self-sustaining, a roaring, self-feeding inferno that cannot be stopped. During this process, in-blowing winds can reach speeds of up to 200 miles per hour, hurricane force winds pointing directly toward the fire. Temperatures inside the firestorm reach hundreds of degrees Celsius. Nothing caught inside survives. Oxygen depletion, suffocation far from the flames. The firestorm does something even more sinister. As it burns, it consumes the oxygen in the surrounding area.
People who are physically far from the flames, people who thought they were safe, begin to notice they cannot breathe properly. Carbon monoxide levels rise to lethal concentrations. In Hiroshima, people who had taken shelter in underground shelters far from the fires died not from burns, but from oxygen depletion. The firestorm consumed the air. An area of 10 square kilometers was completely burned to the ground. In Nagasaki, where the terrain included hills that disrupted the firestorm formation, a slower mass fire still burned continuously for 4 to 5 hours. The city is now a river of fire, and radiation hasn't even started yet.
Now, let's talk about what you cannot see, but what may be the most dangerous threat of all. After a nuclear explosion, iodizing radiation reaches you from 2 separate sources. Prompt radiation, within the first minute. In the first minute after detonation, gamma rays and neutron radiation stream directly outward from the fireball itself. This radiation travels at nearly the speed of light. There is no warning, there is no sound, there is no color or smell. Gamma rays pass through walls, through buildings, through your body. They interact directly with the DNA inside your cells, breaking strands, corrupting instructions, triggering mutations. Within 1 to 3 kilometers of ground zero, this radiation alone, independent of the blast and fire, can deliver a fatal dose. Radiation sickness, acute radiation syndrome, or ARS. For those who survived the blast, the shockwave, and the fires, but were still within range of significant radiation exposure, the battle is far from over. They will now face acute radiation syndrome, or ARS. ARS is a collection of symptoms that follow high-dose radiation exposure. According to data from the CDC, WHO, and clinical research, it unfolds in roughly 3 phases. Phase 1, the prodromal stage, minutes to days. Within minutes to hours of exposure, primary symptoms: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and loss of appetite. Additional: severe weakness, fatigue, and intense headaches. High-dose cases: high fever, confusion, dizziness, rapid heart rate. These symptoms may last for hours or a few days. Then, in many cases, the person seems to improve. The nausea fades. They feel almost normal again. Phase 2, the latent stage, the false recovery. This apparent improvement is a cruel deception. While the person feels better on the outside, inside their body, the bone marrow cells, which produce white blood cells, platelets, and red blood cells, are being progressively destroyed. The immune system is collapsing. The body doesn't know it yet. Phase 3, manifest illness. Then comes the day when the body's defenses finally fail entirely. Blood disorders. White blood cell counts drop drastically. No ability to fight infection. Internal bleeding. Platelet loss means bleeding becomes uncontrollable, both internal and external. Hair loss. Hair follicle damage causes significant hair loss within weeks. Skin ulceration. In severe cases, skin layers are lost and do not regenerate properly. According to CDC data, recovery from this stage, when possible, can take anywhere from weeks to 2 years. And even those who fully recover carry a significantly elevated cancer risk for the rest of their lives. Highest dose cases, when the brain and heart are targeted. If the dose is extremely high, above 30 Gray, the central nervous system and cardiovascular systems themselves are directly impacted. Disorientation, loss of consciousness, and death can follow within days, regardless of any medical treatment. And remember, all of this happens to people who survived the blast, the shockwave, and the fire.
The explosion is over. The flash, the shockwave, the firestorm, all of it has happened. But the danger is far from finished. Now begins the fallout. What is fallout? When a nuclear bomb detonates at or near ground level, the explosion pulls enormous quantities of material, soil, rubble, debris, vaporized buildings, up into the nuclear fireball. That material becomes radioactive as it absorbs neutrons, and it rises with the mushroom cloud into the upper atmosphere. Then, slowly, it begins to fall back down, in the form of radioactive dust and particles carried by the wind, capable of traveling miles, sometimes hundreds of miles, from the original detonation point.
How much time do you have? FEMA's warning. According to FEMA and US government emergency guidance, after the explosion, you have roughly 10 to 15 minutes to find adequate shelter before fallout begins settling to the ground in significant quantities. That is your critical window. The survival rules, what you must do. For those far enough from the blast zone to still be alive and mobile, here is the official survival guidance, sourced directly from FEMA, the Red Cross, and the WHO. Rule 1. Get inside immediately. Move to the nearest solid concrete or brick building with delay. A basement is ideal. The more physical material between you and the outside, the better your protection. Rule 2. Seal everything. Close all windows and doors. Turn off air conditioning, heating, and all ventilation. Seal any visible gaps or cracks with duct tape or wet towels. Radioactive particles are microscopic. They will find any opening. Rule 3. Remove outer clothing. If you are outside during or after the blast, remove your outer layer of clothing immediately and seal it in a plastic bag away from you. Research shows this single action can remove 80 to 90% of external contamination. Rule 4. Wash exposed skin. Gently wash your face, hands, and any exposed skin with soap and water. Do not scrub aggressively. This can drive particles into the skin. A gentle wash is sufficient and effective. Rule 5. Stay inside for 24 hours minimum. The Red Cross, FEMA, and WHO all agree. The first 24 hours carry the highest risk. Radiation from fresh fallout decays rapidly in those first hours. Staying inside dramatically increases your odds of survival. Do not go outside until official authorities give the all clear. Rule 6. Only consume sealed food and water. Any food or water in sealed containers is safe to consume. Open water sources, rivers, lakes, wells, outdoor taps may be contaminated. Fresh produce left outdoors should not be consumed. Keep a battery-powered AM radio. Cell towers will very likely be down. Internet will be down. FM broadcasts may be offline, but battery-operated AM radio can still function. Government emergency broadcasts will carry evacuation routes, shelter-in-place updates, and critical instructions. A small AM radio and extra batteries could be one of the most important items you own. T24 hours. If you were in the fallout zone and you found shelter, you are still alive. But now, the long battle begins.
Let's go now to what history has actually taught us. The survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, known as hibakusha, meaning explosion-affected people, have been studied and followed for decades. Research continues to this day, and what it shows is sobering. 2 to 3 years after the Hiroshima bombing, doctors began noticing unexpectedly high rates of leukemia among survivors. This was the moment the world first began to understand that radiation exposure doesn't end when the bomb goes off. Its consequences follow you for the rest of your life. The Radiation Effects Research Foundation, a joint US-Japan organization, tracked more than 120,000 survivors across decades. Their findings are unambiguous. Leukemia noticeably increased 5 to 6 years after the bombing, with peak rates occurring in 1951 and 1952. Solid cancers, thyroid, breast, lung, and colon cancers showed elevated rates approximately 10 years post-exposure. Overall cancer risk. Survivors exposed to 1 gray of radiation carried a 42% higher cancer risk than unexposed populations. Children most affected. Those who were young at the time of exposure carried the highest lifetime cancer risk. And this elevated risk persisted for the survivors' entire lives, into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. The collapse of healthcare. In Hiroshima on the day of the bombing, 26 of the city's 33 fire stations were destroyed. Hospitals were leveled. Doctors and nurses were among the victims themselves. The few trained medical personnel who survived were already injured. This is the nightmare scenario for any nuclear event. In the United States, one of the best resourced healthcare systems in the world, the entire hospital infrastructure combined can treat approximately 1,000 to 2,000 severe burn patients at one time. A single nuclear weapon can create tens of thousands of severe burn casualties in seconds. How long does a city take to recover? Beyond the human toll, the infrastructure destruction is total. Electricity, power grids, destroyed by both EMP and physical damage, can be offline for weeks to months. Water supply, pumping stations fail, water treatment plants destroyed, remaining water contaminated. Food supply, supply chains collapse, refrigeration fails, crops in the surrounding area contaminated.
Communications, cell towers, internet infrastructure, broadcast stations, all offline. Battery AM radio remains. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, despite the devastation, rebuilt with remarkable determination. By spring of 1946, flowers bloom again in Hiroshima. Reconstruction began. Today, both are thriving, vibrant cities, a testament to human resilience. But that recovery took years, with the full resources of a nation behind it, in a world that was otherwise at peace. A modern 300-kiloton weapon tells a far more severe story. And if multiple warheads are used, the scientific community warns of a nuclear winter, where debris in the atmosphere blocks sunlight, disrupting agriculture globally. There would be no recovery, not just for one city, but potentially for civilization itself. Science is unambiguous. There are no winners in a nuclear war.
Fortunately, this was only a scenario. But history has shown us, not once, but twice, that this scenario is not fiction. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, more than 210,000 people lived through this reality and did not survive it. And those who did survive carried wounds, physical and psychological, for the rest of their lives. Today, there are approximately 12,500 nuclear warheads in the world. More than 1,000 of them are considered deployed, meaning they are ready for use at any time. Humanity holds in its hands a power capable of permanently altering this planet. And the question that has hung over us since August 1945 remains unanswered. Will we be responsible enough to never use it again? The Hibakusha, the survivors who have spent their lives bearing witness, have given the same answer consistently for 80 years. Nuclear weapons can end civilizations, and they must never be used again. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe to the channel and share this video, because awareness is the first step toward accountability. Next time, we'll take on another impossible what if and explore the science and consequences no one talks about. Until then, stay curious, stay informed.